Hey everybody, welcome back. We're doing another Marvel Future Revolution video, and there's a part of this that's critical in my mind, but we're gonna keep it super crazy short. You might not even know this thing exists. It's stat related. You wanna know where this stuff's at. I'm gonna hit it real quick, and then we're gonna dive into stuff a little bit deeper, but really the video is about the front end. It's gonna be less than 60 seconds into that, right? New to the channel, check out the link to the Discord in the description below. Hammer down like buttons, click notification bells, subscribes, all that kind of stuff. All right, let's check this out.
Bring me WolverThor!
Okay, stats. You can see stats in the game, right? Yay. Everybody probably knows this. Maybe you don't. So it's like, oh, look at these three stats, right? Power, level. And then you can just click here. And there's nothing here. You click here. Whoa, more stats. More stats. Some of you people are like, well, obviously. There are so many people who actually don't know this exists. I had to do it. You can end the video right now if you want, but and you can go through here. Click all, and it shows you each individual type of, which title gives you this amount of stats for something. Battle badge gives you this amount of stats for stuff. Costume gives you this much. All the way down through title, potential, squad power, omega power, alliance specialization. Right? So that's like, to me, that's awesome. Now, there's another part of this that you might or might not know as well, is there's max to stats. There's a stat where it's like, if you hit a cap, like, so let's just look at crit rate. Say the max crit rate is, I'm gonna make a number, say 75%. So if you go to 80%, it's pointless. There's a ceiling on that means like, once you get to 75%, there's no point to build that higher. And I'm making up a number. So the second part of this I wanna show you is, what are those maxes, right? What are the maxes for each stat? Let's check that out. All right, same screen, right? We're on the same screen. Hit this question mark next to hero info. Brings you to this actually great in-game guide if you want to look at it. But if you want to watch these videos instead, that'd be much, much appreciated. And then you can click details. And then you can just scroll down, right? And it goes to right here. So it talks about in the stats, blah, 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 and it shows you the percentage. So what did I say earlier? Crit rate, oddly enough, it is 75%. So you can come here and see the max percentages of these. All right, so, and now some of these can be increased higher. You can see crit damage here is 300% with Widow because of her specialization. It actually, I think, goes to 350. So pay attention to where you can increase maxes of things. But this is the main part of this video that I wanted to show you guys. Again, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dive into a little bit more detail. I've taken all of my personal stats and put them into a spreadsheet and showed where the percentages are from. Meaning, like, say I've got 10,000 overall attack, but where does that 10,000 built up in, and see the percentages so that you understand that. Some of you might be familiar with it, some of you might not. If you're interested in seeing that, keep watching. If you are not, appreciate you stopping by, and leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Hammer down like buttons, all that kind of thing. Subscribe if you like. And yeah, let's check this out, more detail. Okay, so anybody who knows me from MSF, it probably knows that I like to do spreadsheets and do things, and I just can't help myself. I kind of wanted to avoid that a little bit in this game, but nonetheless, I have made a spreadsheet. Now, Neuromancer has a great one as well for some of this stuff. I just needed to do a quick one for me. I needed to see things slightly different. So I've created this where basically you can see my Black Widow up here. You can see the columns where I've got the different classifications, and I just went in and inputted the stats, right? For each one all the way down, to the thing. I actually did one for a buddy of mine in X-Force with me, Ghost. He also has a Black Widow, so that I could see just to compare a little bit about where these stats are coming from. And then I've got the totals over to the side, and then I've got the percentages of what, like, so 6188 is 43.1% of the total, right? So, and then I've conditionally formatted these so that they'll pop out a little bit, so that we don't have to worry about all the specific percentages. You can just see kind of where they're at. So red means the lowest, orange means the second lowest, yellow, it builds up basically from red, orange, yellow, and then I think it's purple, blue. Yeah, purple, blue, green. So anyway, I'm trying to get from like hot to cooler and green or whatever. You get the idea. So as I'm looking at this, it's like, okay, so where are these things coming from? So attack, for instance, I'm like, all right, well, basically all my attack, and look, before I get into this, some of this is customizable. When you've got some RNG, you've got customizing your costume. You've got RNG in your costume based on your bonus stats, so you can get different roles in those costumes where it's just kind of like, you know, maybe you don't get any attack on something. Maybe you don't get any accuracy on something. If you equip that, that can be very different. Somewhat similar with Omega cards where you've got some stats that you can get on those, but more importantly, you've got 6 cards that you can kind of like just pick this particular type of card versus another one. So you're thinking, all right, well, I don't want that card that's got ultimate gauge recovery on it. I want this card instead, which has, I'm making stuff up, dodge rate on it. So you've got some customization in that, right? You've got a little bit of customization and potential as far as where you go first, but for all intents and purposes, if you've got the same character that you're comparing, it's going to be similar. Okay. So anyway, so as I was looking at, and battle badges are somewhat similar to that. Title, you're really just looking at these 3 base stats, which are actually not terrible. So it does matter. You can see it's in the 10% range here for these base attack, defense, HP, but it doesn't have anything else on it. And a potential varies based on the character as well. You know, Widow might have crit rate. Doctor Strange might have cooldown, you know, increase. So anyway, so as we're looking for this, you can kind of look, I'll zoom out a little bit so you can kind of see, you know, a little bit further. So you can kind of see, all right, well, where am I getting, what am I getting a lot from my, let me do this first this way, is which one of these columns gives me the best, you know, the most of my stats? I look in this and probably no surprise, you know, it's like, okay, Alliance basically does nothing. It's like, all right, so that's great. It's helpful, but don't be killing your Alliance if you're not getting a bunch of stat numbers there. That's really just about making sure you have people, that, you know, the amount of people that you can get in there and run things with your friends. Specialization, it's like, all right, that's all pretty low. I got a high one here. All right. You know, what is that? Status effect accuracy? Like for Widow, I'm like, yeah, okay. You know, guard damage decrease. Okay, great. You know, super villain damage decrease. Okay. You know, nothing special, but there's a couple a little bit higher percentage wise, but it's nothing that's going to be like super exciting. So buying those sorts of things, you know, killing yourself to make sure you do it. You know, squad power, you've got max damage rate, which is a high one, but again, okay, that's 2% out of a total 3%. So it's like, okay. Same thing with cooldown decrease. There's a couple other yellows in there. So even squad power, it's not all it's cranked up to be. You know, it's something, it's great, but are you going to do a lot to buy things to get that? I would probably recommend maybe not. You know what I mean? Honestly. You know, Omega cards. Okay. All right. Well, oh, hold on. There's some greens. There's some purples. You know, crit rate, crit damage is in a yellow. Defense pierce, I got a high. You know, total damage, I got a 20.8. That's, you know, out of a 20%. Okay. Maybe it's, you know, PvP damage. That could be much, much higher depending on what you isolate here. So, you know, another green and super villain damage, which I'm not into that stat necessarily, but it's showing that you've got some pretty high level numbers here for this particular category. So Omega cards might be something you might consider maybe spending on or really focusing on to make sure you build, right? Again, we mentioned potential earlier. Not a lot of high stats here. You know, you've got your 19 in your accuracy rate for Widow at least. You got your crit damage at about 12%. That's pretty decent. But other than that, that's about it. We already went title. So you end up with costumes and battle badges. So I don't think that's really anything super surprising to anybody. You've probably already aware of that, but I did want to point it out. It's like, oh, okay, well, costumes and battle badges are really super critical here. So, and again, depending what you're isolating and kind of focused on, it will vary with these percentages. But that's really, in my mind, where you want to focus costumes, battle badge. So costumes, crit damage decrease. Again, it's a little bit, it's a green one. You got guard damage. Again, I'm not super into that, but it's like, okay, you know, then it's like, well, wait a minute. Why are you picking those if there's not that many greens? You've got more greens in Omega cards, but those greens are also PvP damage and total damage and your specialization, which is a PvP damage decrease. I could plug those into Omega cards. So if I had to pick 3 things that you want to invest in potentially, it's Omega cards, costumes, and battle badges. Don't go crazy with your specialization and buying stuff. Don't go crazy buying potential stuff. It's helpful, but you don't necessarily need it. It's hard to get, but you don't need it. You know, and I'm really looking at, you know, the costume and battle badge. And like I mentioned, you know, crit damage decrease, you know, it's high. My crit damage, that's super high. My accuracy rate, that's high. And I'm looking at costumes. Ultimate gauge recovery, also high. Attack, that's, you know, up there. You know, you could get some more Omega card there and probably swing that pendulum a little bit. It's, you know, it's important to understand where these stats come from. Where can you do it? Again, I get that there's some ebb and flow with the customization and the RNG in this, but these are the critical areas where you're going to get them from. So I would definitely focus in on that. Again, battle badge, I didn't cover in detail, but, you know, HP recovery, stamina recovery, I find that's really important, at least for me. You know, that's, again, stamina recovery, I'm getting all of that basically from my costume and my battle badge. You know, my dodge rate, I'm getting most of that from those two as well. Almost all of it. It's 70 some percent, you know, of that is coming from my costume and battle badge. My crit damage, again, 60%, 61, 62% of that is coming from my costume and battle badge. So, you know, some other stuff that people like to look at, PvP damage, and my PvP damage decrease. I don't have any of that. None of that's from your costume or battle badge, but you're going to get that probably from your Omega cards. So again, depending what you're focusing on, depends where you're going to put some of that stuff. Guard damage, if you're really into that, I've got some in my costume. One of the stats I really like to talk about, where's my accuracy? Where's my accuracy? Accuracy rate. All right, so accuracy rate, I've got a super low accuracy rate. It's at 28.7, but most of that is coming from my costume and my battle badge. I'm actually trying to get my chest piece, which is the only piece of gear that you can actually get accuracy on. I'm trying to get a 2 to 3 stack of accuracy on it, and that's the one that I'm going to pick to run into my red nanos. So I keep rolling, trying to get a good one. And I'm just like, I don't re-roll my 6, but I keep building up the other ones. If I don't get what I want, I use it to crush into other stuff. So anyway, this was a little bit deeper dive in some of this stat-wise stuff. I wanted to cover it because I thought it might be helpful to some people. I knew for me personally, I had a feeling it was kind of these two columns, but I wasn't 100% certain on exactly how much. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got here. I'm not going to go in more detail. You know, like I mentioned, if you're looking to pause this, I'll scroll down so you can kind of see some of it. Again, I got Ghost down here. He's pretty much the same way with his Black Widow. I'll slowly kind of tick through this. You know, his has got a couple greens, more greens in his Omega cards because he's focused some things there. But for all intents and purposes, he and I pretty much had the same colors. He had higher stats than me. He's built higher than I am. But we had pretty much the same colors in the different columns, or in similar columns, I should say. So if you want to pause at any point of this, you know, feel free to do that. And you can check them out in game and or me in game to see what we're kind of running as well. And I didn't want to get into that. So let me know if you thought this was helpful. Again, I want to give a shout out to Neuromancer, who's got a great spec build spreadsheet out there. I did this for a little bit different purposes, and I hope it's been helpful. You know, again, like I mentioned, I wanted to do the front end part. Some people might know that. And then I wanted to dive in a little bit further here. So appreciate you guys stopping by. Like I mentioned earlier, the Discord link is in the description below if you want to come chat and follow along with some content a little bit simpler. You hammer down on the like buttons, click notification bells, and if you'd love to subscribe, we'd absolutely appreciate that. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.